Okay, we're rolling.
We are rolling.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Truth and Beauty podcast, where we discuss anything from truth
to beauty.
I'm James, and we've got the lovely Sunaina with us from Mullumbimby area, who we met at Starlight Festival up at Byron Bay. Yeah, that was quite a fun little festival.
You want to explain how you met her?
Well, I'd seen you actually advertised in the pamphlet. I was like, yeah, she looks cool. I want to, go to a workshop and stuff. But
you didn't come to the workshop.
Well, we did, but then we thought it was the wrong workshop, so we moved on. But anyway, on the start of the second day, this freaking wild woman pulls in. Like, I'm like, oh, righto, cool. And then like slams on the brakes, gets out of the car, is rushing around the car, like trying to freaking find everything. And she's like, excuse me, mate, can you give me a hand? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we
was that me?
That was you. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'll give you a hand with all the stuff, and then you're like, I've lost my keys. So we find your keys, we take you in, and then she's like, all right, I'm going to give you guys a reading. Like, thanks for that. And a small reading turned into this.
Crazy, yeah. We just learned so much. She just gave us insight into all these different personality types. It was awesome.
Yeah. So what is it that you do, Sunaina?
Well, I would call it esoteric heart surgery, but that probably sounds a little bit woo-woo, wouldn't it? So in layman's terms, because I've been in love with the Enneagram for 10 years, 9 years, I don't know. And I've been into Krishna consciousness, traveled India a lot. And also I'm a big lover of the Course in Miracles, and all three together gives me and my life story, which you don't want to hear, gives me insight into the typing with the Enneagram it's infallible, but I am able to suss out what's going on in somebody thanks to the Enneagram, but also thanks to all of my other experience and skills with people.
So did you just want to give a quick description of the Enneagram? Because most people probably have.
Yeah. But what I know how to do is to see where the blocks are in your psyche.
That's an Enneagram, people.
Yeah. Well, there's this one, which is, how can you see this one? You click on
that. Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
Cool.
Yeah. But and then there's with that's with triads of how they work. But that's cool. That's a little bit more technical. I want to keep it quite simple if I can. Sure. That's the other side of this card. So what I do is I've created these cards. Okay, is this for your audience to see or?
Yeah.
Okay, there's these.
Okay.
So there aren't types, even though you're seeing 4 of 4. This is the group of those types.
Yeah.
So there's 9 types according to this Enneagram, and then there's 3 cards for each, explaining what it is, both sides. A very, very in-depth report. So what I've done is I've simplified. My teacher, Eli Jackson Bear, of how I got into the Enneagram, he uses it for the purpose of awakening. So that was how I was introduced to it.
Cool.
People can use it just for going, oh, you're a 2 and you're a this and you're a that. That's fun and it's good for just introducing yourself, but it's not really the
purpose,
the miracle of understanding who you are. So the Enneagram is how to understand the ego wiring of each personality, being when you were born into a body, the body knows it's going to die. So the ego, the body and the ego are the same thing. So everyone has a wiring of how to stay alive in fight and flight. So if you're in a life and death situation, that wiring kicks in and is running the show. But that wiring, even though it might be purring more in the background when things are a bit more calm, it's still governing the way you do things. So it's literally a program. So I understand everyone's programs. There's lots of Enneagram people. It's becoming more and more popular, but I've been going really, really deep with it, more in the esoteric, to understand more the essence of what you did. So you looked at that card where, so what I've done is I've worked out how to marry Vedic scripture with, I can show you that better because I'm just going to confuse you. Vedic scripture with the Enneagram in the Satchit Anand. So all Vedic, anyone that's attracted to Vedic scripture understands what Satchit Anand is. And Satchit Anand is the nature of every soul.
So is that the presence, consciousness, and bliss?
Yes, every soul has this.
So yeah, we've got the presence, consciousness, and bliss.
Yeah, but then show it up again. Put that up again. The wire, it's then divided into 3 of 3, 3. So there's anger types, fear types, and hysteria types or shame types. So everyone has their essence and everyone has their petrol to keep them in the program. So it literally is like the Matrix, literally. Like, and so what these cards are is, this is what's going on when you're in a body, but you're not a body. You're beyond a body. So this is presence. I'm here. This is consciousness, and this is bliss. I know they're seems just cards, but this is a way to try to help others understand what's going on. And
so can you give us an example?
Yeah, sure. I can only talk about myself. Being an 8, the quality of being an 8 is so it says truth. Here's truth. I'm a truth speaker. All 8s are really, they can see what's going on, but they can't, they're not the most stylish people. So can't articulate it. So when they can see what's going on, they get kind of frustrated that no one else can see what's going on. So they can see it actualized, and what they tend to do is they say things before people are ready to hear it. So they tend to piss people off. So it's an anger point. So presence in a body runs on rage. Consciousness in a body runs on fear, meaning consciousness goes into mind goes into fear of what it might be. Gosh, I need to slow this down because I'm getting really too technical here.
It's okay. It's okay.
Bliss is an emotion. So the emotional points, like you, Enya, there's 3 of each type, 3 of the emotional types, 3 of the fear types, you, James, 3 of the anger types, me, and so that we've got.
This works out well. Literally, it's like presence, consciousness.
Such a none.
So, and that's why I've done it like this, where you're predominantly this represents Sat, this represents Chit, this represents a nun. So in this case, this is me, this is you, James, and this is you, Enya.
Yeah.
So, and there's 2 placentas. I know we have 1 placenta when we're physically born, but I'm taking this from an esoteric level to help you understand the nature of soul. So going back to me, I run on lust. So I'm not a self-realized soul. And what's getting in the way of me understanding that I'm actually power is my lust, because I want everything now. And I do implore anyone that's interested in the Enneagram to check out this Enneagram Rhapsody. This guy knows what he's
we'll leave the link down below.
It's really, really funny.
If you want to find it on YouTube, it's just Enneagram Rhapsody, as in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, so he sort of nailed it in a song. And I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the most famous songs ever, and the story behind that of how he wouldn't compromise. And Freddie Mercury's a 4, and so he understands all the eclectic of emotion, and it straight up starts with the 4. But I'm referring to that because 8 talks about get out of my way. If you get in my way, you're going to die. I'm not crazy. You're just all a little bit lazy. So 8s are sort of like obsessive compulsive. Let's just get it done. And if you're not with me, you're against me. So I'll kill you. So that's not very practical, and that's not very helpful. But you can see how, if you don't know your ego wiring type, an 8 running around unconsciously is just pissing everyone off. So that's why I learned about it, because I tended to piss a lot. I mean, I still do piss people off. It's not my intention, but the people that really know me can see I really have their back. But that's, again, another 8 quality. So, and I think it's really good to start with the 8 and talking about the Enneagram, because as soon as you do, what happens in people's minds is they go, oh my God, I know the 8, and they can think of all the 8s in their lives.
Someone who's like
Everybody says, oh, that's the asshole that upset me. Or that was my father and I'm traumatized by him. So most people are traumatized by 8s. A little bit different for the females. I mean, I know it still has the same wiring on the inside, but because in the feminine principle, we have to behave a certain way, as opposed to, how patriarchal values of, they're instilled in us no matter what's changing and going on. They're still in our psyche. So the female 8s, if they're not supported, they tend to just shut up and watch it all and work from behind the scenes. So they don't all look the same. But when you scratch away at every human and find out what their type is, or they do the self-inquiry, you will really quickly understand what's really going on for you. And so I offer workshops. I'm building a retreat for India. These cards, I personally believe, are the best way to understand it, even though that there's like so many sources. You can YouTube a lot of stuff, which is, again, very layman's terms and helpful.
But we can testify to your work, like instantly.
You got there. Asked one question each, and you were just like, bam, you're that personality and this, and it just resonated so well with both of us.
For example, it was, you asked me, you just went, when you get on a plane, do you always know where the exits are? And I was like, yeah, why? She's like, oh, you're a 6. Yeah. You're concerned with security and being, because of this and this, intelligence, yeah. And you doubt your way. That's your ego mechanism, by doubting and stuff like that.
I'll refer to the Bohemian Rhapsody song, the Enneagram Rhapsody song. What he said about the 6 was, everyone's out to get me. They're just so paranoid that everyone's out to get me. I've got a close friend who's a 6. My son's a 6, and always when you meet a 6, if they don't know about the Enneagram type, or even if they do, they'll always set a limit on it. So in lover-beloved relationships, so this is where the work comes in even deeper, is once you understand your type and you understand the type you're relating to. But what I'm here for is for counseling, for it can be couples or anything, relationship dynamics, family, work, whatever. Cool. I can see what's going on and where the pitfalls are, where the strengths, and where you're going to have problems. Like at the Starlight Festival, I was there were 2 women that were about to get married, and I could say, well, this is what's going to happen in your marriage if this happens or that happens. So they were forewarned with how their relationship could end in the custard, and rather than awaken. So that's its function. So it's not just knowing about yourself, which I think is obviously entirely important, because you need to know your whole self, not your fixated self, which is running that program. But then when you work with it and you work with others, then you start seeing those dynamics. So the 6, because 6s make up half the population, and 8, there's always strong conflict between 6 and 8, because the 8 doesn't really follow the rules because it never worked for them, because they see the truth. So they're running on a higher truth. I know that sounds like they're just sort of more in tune with a different, like the rules and the regulations are not really, they're man-made. Yeah. So there's pitfalls in them, and the 8 can see that. We all need to follow rules and regulations because there needs to be some kind of order in society. But the 8's sort of going, well, this doesn't really apply to me, and it seems so egocentric.
Yeah, well, people are perceive them that way because they don't know any better.
Yeah, so mostly like Chopper Read. You said you've interviewed Chopper Read.
No, it wasn't Chopper Read. I think we need to clarify that. It was just a bloke we called Chopper.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't.
husband.
But he's an 8. But then Donald Trump's an 8. And Donald Trump's really all about protecting innocence. So whatever you think of him, whatever. But then again, you've got Roger Alias in who used to be in charge of Foxtel, who abused all those women. Harvey Weinstein, another 8.
It was Trump who went to Epstein Island, like just for a little thing.
Well, you never know. You never know what hat's wearing. There's like white hats, red hats.
Yeah,
when you
I don't really
the
dig
point
into
about
all
it
that
is
stuff.
once you understand the type, you understand the motivation, and then it all gets revealed later on what someone's agenda is, whether they were like. It's not about us judging because we've only got partial perception. Again, that's what this is for, to understand someone's motivation. And it really comes down to the anger points just wanting autonomy, the fear points want security, and the emotional points want attention. So on a fundamental level, that's at the heart of every relationship. So we're all misunderstanding everyone. I'm not dismissing all the horrible things that people do to one another, but the purpose is to understand why people do the things the way they do them.
Yep.
And when you understand that, when understanding becomes more so, that's where love can enter rather than the grievance. So everyone is holding it. This is again the Course in Miracles. Actually, everyone is holding a grievance on some level. Like I say, the 8. Oh, that one was my father and he did this to me. And I'm upset about that. And then you're carrying that trauma for the rest of your life. And then what we're doing, everyone, consciously or unconsciously, we are counter-transferring that grievance onto others.
Oh, through
So
projection?
This is again why I'm doing it, is because I feel like I've had unconscious counter-transference of a lot of projections put upon me.
Yep. I'm the same.
And
Trigger.
because I'm an 8, and 8's usually the perpetrators, but I'm a female 8. So even I will be triggering people with their 8 fixation traumas, and it's coming to me. So, I mean, that's the story of my life. But this is why I've had to go really deep in it, to go, this is a unconscious countertransference. So it's really a little bit like family constellation, because everybody, when you meet someone, you're like, oh, you remind me of someone. It's because it's the same type.
Yes.
Or don't I know you? It's because it's the same type as you. Or this person really irritates me. It's because they're not as evolved in the type that you are, and they've yet to do that work. But it's irritating you because you've done that, a little bit of that work, but it's still triggering you back in the work it's still your nature.
Being triggered, is that an egoic thing?
It's all ego. The body is ego. Perception is ego. If you pick up the Course in Miracles, which I strongly recommend, it's as incredible as the Bhagavad Gita. So, and I've infused the Bhagavad Gita into these cards and the Course in Miracles. Like, look at this. This is Christ, but this is the evolution of consciousness. And this is, so people ask me, oh, is a type 2 really good with a type 6, like in your case? It's not really so much about that. It's, you can understand the nature of the relationship, but the 7, this algorithm of the 7, like it's a circle, a triangle, and then a hexad of 7. 7 is the evolution. So it's the evolution of consciousness. So you could get a very dense 2 with a very evolved 6, and it's going to be a troublesome relationship, like the depth here. But if you've worked with yourself and you're resonating in the same field, then it's working. So that's sort of what it's about. This is where I put it into Krishna consciousness. So this is Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, which is the state that we've all come from. And this is the egg with the hexad over it of the baby with 2 placentas, as in Satchit Anand and then Bing Bada Boom. So they're for sale. And I want to jump into this more, but I'm running a kombucha business, which I think is going to be for sale soon. So I'm available.
So what, you're selling kombucha? I
have a kombucha business called Brahmbucha, which is going throughout the northern rivers. It's going really well. It's really big. And it's taking my time up, because this is meant to be for launching in India for a retreat. and I want to establish a workshop here, but I'm kind of like with the kombucha. But again, that's an 8 fixation. They just do everything. Like, you're all just kind of lazy. As in, if you watch Bohemian Rhapsody, Enneagram Rhapsody.
Yeah, do it.
8s are always doing way too much. And everyone's like, oh, slow down, shut up. And that's how I will present in an interview. This. I need to draw it in and slow it down. But you get the truth with an 8. See, look, I'm stopping.
Your turn.
Oh, I know you want to ask me a question, but I could go into some of the types.
What's the question you have, Enya?
Emotional points.
So,
Yeah, I guess just for people, a bit curious about finding out their personalities, what would be good? Like, how would they be able to identify the different types in other people and themselves? Like, to start out.
To start out, there's just so many tests you can do on the internet. They're not all that favorable. These cards, I'll promote myself. I've put my life into these cards at the moment. So can
you buy a pack of cards?
Yeah, it's a living, breathing workshop. So say you think, oh, that's Sunaina, she's too much, I don't want to work with her. But you can still buy the cards, and then you figure out your type from reading the cards, and then you can be with the people in the room that you're with, and they've got their cards and you've got your cards.
Yeah, dope.
You can really start to understand what's going on. So that's why it's not a book. So, ooh.
Hello. The curtain's fallen.
But I will say something about the emotion.
We've got 2 crutches and some sticky tape holding this together.
I was going to say something about emotions.
That was very helpful. Like when I forget what you asked me, something about emotions and just helping people, and then you pinned me as a 2 straight away. You're like, yeah, your thing is kindness, and then you're also very prideful. And, yeah, I didn't even realize that myself until you sort of pointed that out, and then I thought about it for a while, and I was like, yeah, and then I started realizing things of people knock that I do or whatever. I'm just very prideful.
Well, a two will find it hard to identify what type they are at first, because pride is really difficult to see. It's not until they feel the pain of humiliation. So all of the image points 2, 3, and 4, they're all concerned about being shame is what they don't want to be seen in the light, in negative light. I mean, no one does, but this is your frigging identity. Whereas with an 8, we're used to being seen in a negative light. So we our ego identity is, well, I don't give a shit. Who cares?
What's 6?
That's their defense. But it's so important for a 2, a 3, and a 4 to be seen in good light. So if something happens in the public arena and you're embarrassed.
I'm kidding. You're seen in the good light. See, as soon as there's the negative light, you're like, what?
If you're embarrassed, like say you're walking up on the stage to take an award for something and you trip on the stairs, you'll die. You'll die over that. Whereas Jennifer Lawrence, she's an 8. She fell over on the red carpet, and she's like, oh yeah, whatever. She's done it twice actually. And how she deals with it, it's just so 8. Whereas, how would you feel if it happened to you?
Get over like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
But the amount of shame that would come forward and the humiliation, that's where you get to see the pride, is what my point is.
So what about with the consciousness section, the 5, 6, 7, like James, what would he be in the light?
I wouldn't trip.
It's so the 2, 3, 4s are sort of meant to be on the stage because they're image points. So like we'll go back to Harvey Weinstein, right, who's exploiting it. Most people in Hollywood and on the stage, or sporting personalities are usually 6s going into the 6. But just so I can finish off on the image points, they tend to be the ones on the stage because they're good at presenting, creating Instagramming, all of the things where you're seen, makeup artistry, Hollywood, America. It's all three fixation, but it's getting more technical. But so with the sixes, they're more the security oriented. So always a security guard or a police officer or an ambulance driver, all sixes.
Yeah.
Adrenal sports, like.
Yeah, I'm a bit wild.
Yeah. The sixes, because they make up half the population, like I said.
Half the population.
They're the soldiers. So
Mm.
you need an entire army. So again, this is where the Enneagram shows up. So if a war hits, everyone will do certain things. Like the twos will go to grab the children. The ones were like, I already saw this coming and I could have told you this is how we need to do it. It's like, I'm up there fucking, let's just kill everyone. And the sixes are collecting and being the army, and the fives are the strategists. So everyone falls into a different. Then there's also subtypes: social, sexual, self-preservation. So survival of me, self-pres; survival of the group, social; sexual, survival of the children. So it all makes very deep sense. But yeah, the stuff you'll see on YouTube and whatever you look around for will just be that introduction,
base level,
generic simplistic stuff. And it's not really going to hit you of why it's so important to understand.
Well, you're clearly the expert. You were saying you've studied so much, you put so much work in, and you've formulated it into these beautiful cards, like beautiful dot points, but you also have traveled to India. You've done the work. Like, clearly, if there is
20 years in India. Sorry, I didn't mean 20 years in India off and on.
Oh, 20 years in India. Okay.
I raised my kids there off and on, and yeah, but more in the village rather than temple life. I mean, I've jumped into temple life, but in Krishna consciousness, but I kind of call that the Hare Christians, because there's still a lot of, I don't want to say anything negative about that, but it's, organized religion. There's always an authority that thinks they know what's going on. I mean, eights think they're the authority that knows what's going on. It's not really about that. It's about understanding.
Did you travel to Calcutta at all?
Yeah, first time I went to India was Calcutta. Ooh, nice. I was like, hell really does exist on earth. But yeah, Delhi is where I usually fly into and go up to the Himalayas. Yeah. Himachal is my area that I like.
Himachal, up in the mountains,
where the Dalai Lama is, but not because of the Dalai Lama.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the intersection of China, Tibet, and India, is it?
Well, no, Himachal is the foothills of the Himalayas, and it's close to. So the Nepalese come down and the Kashmiris come down. It's a little bit like Byron Bay in the mountains. It's a very touristic place. Although I hear tourism hasn't pumped hugely since BC. You know how they call it BC, before COVID and after COVID?
Oh, I haven't heard that. BC,
now,
that's
new
great.
Timeline now, because it was before Christ, and now we've become so, indoctrinated into, we need to shift it back to after Christ and be Christ conscious.
I've definitely
instead of COVID conscious.
Within the last year, my mind and my spirit has just expanded exponentially, like with the freedom movement. I don't like calling it a freedom movement. We're freedom lovers. We're not freedom fighters. But ever since, connecting with these like-minded souls and just doing this random stuff on intuition, like, my spirit has just absolutely expanded. How about yourself, Anya?
Yeah, it's definitely just thriving. It's so good to be learning all this new stuff and just expanding your views on the world and being able to see through like the veil.
See the veil. And
there's so many levels and layers of the veil, isn't there? Like, but truth is true. It's either accepted or denied. So in the Vedic scripture, it's saying this is Kali Yuga, which is the most degraded time we're living in. Like, look, it's he, him, her. I'm identifying with being a sober person, even though I'm drunk. Get me off my drug charge or whatever.
Yeah, right. That's right.
but this mixing up of everything is obviously an agenda, which is Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga is defined by hypocrisy and quarrel. These are all Vedic terminologies, but there's 4 pillars of Dharma, and in Kali Yuga 3 of those legs were cut, and the only one left standing is truth. So every soul knows truth when they hear it. The other ones is cleanliness, austerity. Oh my gosh. Oh, too many things in my head. I have to go back to that one. Oh, can't remember. But
That's okay.
Cleanliness is like clean thinking, having an austere
Purity.
life. So we all value money and having a good time and showing yourselves on Instagram as, having a really wonderful life. These aren't really the principles of living. I mean, this is trendy and it makes you feel good for a little while, but we're talking about eternity. Do you want to keep coming back and going, oh, well, I had a really good time? It's about really waking up, and that means doing the real work and
doing the work, the inner work.
Truth is the beauty of Kali Yuga. The more pious activities that you do and the more work that you do to elevate your soul, you're changing your timeline. You're changing lifetimes of not having to come here and do the same crap all over again. Like, is it really about having that holiday and sipping on pina coladas and getting your great sex life going on?
Cool. I'd get bored after a week,
So that's why the 4 principles of Dharma is no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, and no gambling. No gambling means that you're not making business for a corrupt, that you're trying to get ahead and do adrenochrome. You know what I mean? Like, because the whole world is like jacked up on that. Well, every single industry is implicated with that, which is what Kali Yuga's saying, because it says in this timeline we're going to be eating each other. We're cannibals, and on some level we are. Look at all our food. So I mean, eights do go into the sort of deep stuff, and I don't mean to. It's more about
that's okay,
protecting yourself within those 4 walls. No illicit sex. I'm not saying don't do sex or la, but everyone you're interacting with, this is in Vedic scripture, that's a lifetime. We might not agree with arranged marriages in India, but the West doesn't look so great, with it comes
50% of divorce rate. Like,
well, look at a dating app. Oh yeah, he's all right. No, done. It's like going into Woolworths. Oh, today I want chocolate. Oh, today I want biscuits. Today
we
I want
are all products essentially by design of this society.
So that's the problem. So
Yes.
No illicit sex, meaning just be careful who you're interacting with. Intoxication is going to lead to the toilet, like as in what you're putting in your system is going to affects your consciousness. Back to the cards. And illicit sex, meat eating. I mean, do I need to go on about it? I don't.
Well,
really.
yes, because I don't really know the law per se.
You're killing an animal. You might not be implicated. You're still implicated, whether you slit the throat of that animal.
Yeah.
You're still implicated in the death, whether you eat it, transport it, kill it. I'll go in the other direction. You kill it, transport it, cook it, serve it, eat it. You're all implicated. So that's a heavy karma. And that animal knows it's going to die because consciousness is ascending in everyone. So this is why Krishna consciousness really actually means cow protection. Because again, going back to those 4 principles of Dharma, it's about the cow and the protection of the cow, because the cow is the mother. So the cow represents the earth, your parents, the mother of the country, the mother of your religion. And I know religions become bastardized, but I mean mother of spirituality.
Okay, but here's a counterpoint to that. And I'm going to be really rude. Steak
Go
tastes
for it.
really good.
Hey, what?
Steak tastes really good.
Well, that's the whole point, is the tongue is out of control. You can never control the mind while the tongue is just running after its own sense gratification. So you'll never be able to find peace or sanity. We might have the ups of, I'm really happy now because I got my intoxicants. I feel really good. I got my paycheck. I've had lots of juicy sex life, and I've had my steak. I'm great. But then the karmic reaction will roll the next day, and okay, the clouds have come over. It's raining, and my bank account's empty and my females left me, my partner's left me for someone else. It's all temporary nature. So happiness, distress, it's actually all within the same parameters of nothing. It's all meaningless. You want the eternity of the soul to awaken and elevate, and you've been born into a human body. Don't waste this time, because you might come back as the bear or the tiger. I mean, I'm using Krishna Vedic stuff, and it's not that simplistic, but it's good to talk about it in a simplistic way. It's like, if you sleep a lot, you might come back as a bear. If you eat lots of meat, you might come back as a tiger. If you have lots of sex life, you might come back as a monkey. But it's not, so don't waste this time to evolve and awaken. And the Enneagram is about the evolution of consciousness by finding out who you are, understanding your pitfalls, understanding your nature, not getting upset about it that, okay, I'm actually naturally a tiger. This one's naturally a camel and this one's naturally a zebra. Am I going to get upset by trying to wear a black and white suit if it's not, oh, I said tiger, didn't I? But if, or a rabbit, they all have different qualities. So when you understand their nature and not get too judgmental about it, because as soon as judgment comes in, that's where separation comes. It's about healing perception and joining, because the truth is, beyond that little tiny physical form in here, with something so much bigger, which is whole and unity. So that's what the circle represents. It's unity in consciousness, the love principle. And I know we all love to talk about it, but it's not about just feeling good, because that's a temporary,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's actually about the peace of the soul, because happy days come, distressful days come. It's about being balanced and situated in the self, the truth of yourself. That's why I've done the work that I've done, to help elevate consciousness, not just so you can have a happy day.
Awesome.
Of course, that's great, but let's go a bit further and deeper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. Well, we've got about a minute left, so we want to thank you so much for your time. And if anyone's interested in learning about the personality types, we suggest you go. She's got a website, theembrace.com.au. Am I saying it right? We'll leave the link down
We'll leave
below.
all the links in there.
And the cards are $108, and that would actually just show you everything. And there's also a workshop.
And you do one-on-one. You can do Zoom. You can see you in person if you wish.
Or you can buy some kombucha, or you can buy a kombucha business. Or you can come to India and get involved in the retreat. But at the moment, I'll be doing some workshops in March.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. This is the Truth and Beauty podcast. Thanks
so much, James. Thanks, Andrew. Nice.
Awesome.
Bye.